It's
I
just
mean,
not for
I
me.
saw a meme this morning or last night when I was like scrolling around that was like, and it was a picture of Milli Vanilli, like with a scowl look on their face. And it's like Milli Vanilli when they see all these people getting famous on TikTok for lip syncing.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. See, Kelly of the two of us is much more. She likes it. Um, I love doing our show. Anyways, we're two different people. That's why we host together and we do well. What about your communication? Speaking of a social media or text message correspondence, you
Mm.
were telling me, and I actually was telling you a story which we will not bring up here, but where the thumbs up had come up in a conversation, and you were saying people aren't really. What were you telling me about thumbs
Well,
up
I had
means
seen
fuck you, basically?
well one of our mutual friends who is a radio she hosts a radio show down in San Diego. We've known her forever. Her name is Gina the Latina. She had done a TikTok where she had read a study that Gen Zers were against the thumbs up, saying it was more for old people, that it was like people that didn't really get it. And it was funny because she went around her office and she was asking like the younger people kind of what they thought about it, and their answers were a little different from what the study had shown. And it just kind of like got into this whole thing because it's like, how do you feel about these? Like, how do you interpret these different emojis? Because sometimes if someone sends you a thumbs up, it's cutting off the conversation. So it could be construed as, all right, that's cool, I'm done. Or
Mm.
it could just be cool, okay. Or it could, it's funny how we interpret all these different things depending upon how the conversation is going. But I think the consensus was, most people were cool with it, but a few of them did say that they felt like it was more older people that continued to use it. I actually don't use it very much. I've been using it with you like all week just to like fuck with you.
That's all
I
we do
don't
now.
I don't
Yeah.
really know. My way to say like fuck you, this conversation is over if I just like your last message.
If you do what?
If I just like your last message,
Oh, like you
whatever you
stop
said,
talk
like
you stop
then I'm
talking to the
like
person.
done. And it doesn't
Uh
it doesn't have to be like a fuck you. It could just be like, okay, we don't have anywhere else to go with this,
yeah.
depending upon what the message is and how the conversation goes.
I guess I don't get that bummed by it because I don't want you to say yes, I agree with you, Ronnie, because it's going to sound like I'm a pest in some ways. But I feel like if I get a correspondence and it stops by way of a thumbs up or anything, if Ronnie, me, if I get the notion to want to keep talking, you know this, Kelly, I keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
I will keep
But the
going.
thing when you are done, what's funny is that you do what I do, but you do it in a more you do the love.
Well, I'm new at that because I wasn't always an Android,
Hmm.
and in Android we didn't have that. So we actually had to be
Right,
like we had to do a 3-word sentence like
right.
sounds okay, you know. And now for me the heart is
Hmm.
absolutely like got it. In fact, I've barely moved away from the heart to do some ha-has or some
Yeah.
exclamations.
Which I
Uh
think is great because it's a very nice way that you're basically saying, okay, we're good. Let's move on with
yeah.
our day. You know what I'm saying? Like we do that a lot with each other, which is what I've noticed about how you end your conversations, which I totally respect it. And
Yeah.
I appreciate the sentimentality of it because I feel the way that I take it is very nice that you're like, okay, good. We're good.
Yeah. Well,
I
that's
think
only
I'm on the other hand, I'm a little bit more like unemotional and I'm just like, cool, like it, good, we're good.
I think it's because we know that we have to talk a lot for the show. And
Mhm.
sometimes I don't know if you feel the same way, but I don't want to feel like, damn, I'm imposing on her so much, but I need to get this opinion to her. We bounce it
Yeah.
back and forth. And then I'm like, okay, no, go back to what you were doing, but you
Yeah.
can't say it like that. So the thumbs up, or I mean, any of the heart or the thumbs up definitely works. I
Hmm.
love a copy of that. I love a copy of that. But it is funny. I don't know if I could say it for the old. And first of all, who's giving a shit what the young kids think? That's the craziest part. I'll get to that in a second. But I will say that there was an episode of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City where this came up like 3 years ago, where
Oh, really?
it was the one girl. Her name was Heather, and she was like trying to talk to Lisa. Lisa was the type that didn't really like care if they were friends. Heather needed them to be friends. So when Heather would correspond, Lisa would give the thumbs up, and Heather was like, yeah, that's basically like saying fuck you. So it can, and I was team Lisa on this, meaning
Hmm.
like grow up. Like if you do have a problem, just go talk to her. But
Hmm.
you can't be responsible for the other. Yeah, you can't be responsible for the other person not like giving like giving you that affirmation to be like, we're good. Like, you can't let a thumbs up be looked at as negative. However, I was in a text correspondence, and I'm going to be really light with the words here, but I was in a text correspondence. Kellie knows everything, where it was a text correspondence that was sort of out of the blue, and it was nicer on my end. I will say I was the initiator in a space that I would otherwise not initiate. So it's like, hey, blank, 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 which I know the person who received that message was like, what? Or probably excited because it's me, it's Ronnie. And
of course, they're absolutely excited.
Yeah, I know this for sure. And instead of like a human taking the correspondence and writing like, oh, good, I would love to go to lunch or something like that, or oh, nice to hear from you,
or answering the question that you asked
like a human,
right?
The only thing I got was a thumbs up. So I tell Kellie, and Kellie goes, oh, well, have I got a story for you? Gen Zers hate it too. So I guess for the first time in the history of history, I'm with the Gen Zers that like, give me more than a thumbs up, because I was talking about let's get lunch right today. A thumbs up just tells me you're good with it. Well, then I'm not gonna, like, you got one message. I can't do all the work. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's just so funny. How do they even have these stats tabulated? What,
like, I wonder, like, how do you conduct those research things? Like, what's the questionnaire say?
Or
like,
what do they use?
Right.
Like, if they're not using thumbs up, what do they use? How do they talk? I mean, it's not.
Well, they were talking about using like the one that's like this, or how do you do it? This like this.
Okay, I thought
like
I saw that
kind of thing,
which is just awful. I thought I saw that a little bit, but it was because it was through family, and it was one of the cousins had an older cousin who was in Hawaii. So I was like, is that do they do it because it's Hawaiian? Like, not Hawaiian, but
like the okay, which I've done that one. I feel like, to me, I felt like that one's a little nut because you're like, cool, okay, got it.
Yeah, well, not only that, I think there's other contexts. I mean, I think all sign language should be, really monitored these days because everything has a second meaning.
No,
but my thing is,
I could be like cussing somebody
no,
out.
you probably, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. No, but I'm saying, like, what is wrong with using words? Like, we're so into like, abbreviating everything and like. I mean, lazy. I get it. LOL makes sense because it's kind of saying, oh, I got a chuckle out of that, or I'm not that serious. But all of these other ones, I mean, you know how many times I'm going to the Google? I'm right there typing in the Google because I'm going to start bugging you. Kellie, what the heck happened? I'm going to start bugging you.
Googling some of the newer ones. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
So I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever get it correct. Or if I'll get it correct.
We are now like the older generation. Mm-hmm. Some bullshit.
I was telling somebody the other day, we're like in the middle zone now. We're so far off from being like fresh out of high school and like what's our life's gonna be. But we're definitely, not, Lord willing, we're we're not with grandkids and stuff of that nature. Like, this is a really fun space to be. We had a whole episode devoted to that last week. Life in the 40s. But I don't know. It's just so funny to connect and correspond with people when everyone has a different language, so to speak. I just wish people would use their words. There's other rules. Are you the type that fires off one long message, or do you like do 3 words, 5 words, 10 words? Like, what do you do? And is there do you have a feeling about that?
Personally, I get agitated sometimes if I get 10 messages in a row and each one are like 2 words. It's like, why? Hi, yeah. How are you? Oh my God. Because then my phone's just constantly going off and it's so annoying. But it also depends on I feel that I've gotten more into it because also it depends on the level of attention span of the person you're talking to. Because there are people that if I write a whole paragraph with all the information in one, they will only read the first 2 lines. So I have to break it up to make sure they get all the information because they stop reading after like 2 sentences, which is annoying within itself, but that's how it happens. So I think it just depends on who you're talking to. Yeah. It's just like with anything. If you write a press release, one thing I learned, like as the press realm was changing, was I would have to break up my press release and put like the main objective in 2 sentences at the top in order to get them to read the rest of it. because people are lazy. It's the whole abbreviating thing. It's the instant gratification and like all of that. So when people are, multitasking and going 100 miles a minute, you need to break it up to keep their attention. So although it may irritate me, it actually serves me better. Like if I'm at, if I'm at my, if I'm creating stuff and making stuff and I'm in the middle of a project and somebody needs information from me, it's actually better to get it broken up because it will keep reminding me to go and look and answer those questions.
I feel like it should be written based on how much information needs to be sent to you. So if I'm sending, like Kellie and I will talk about our podcast, but we'll also, like I said, we worked in radio 20 years ago. So we have friends in radio, or if we're talking about love life, I just feel like every chunk should go together. That's how I would do it. I don't know that I would want like a couple of words and another couple of words. Just give me the chunk that I got to read through later. But the notion to think that you can't do that because somebody might not have an attention span. I could almost see it on a as a publicist, like on a one sheet or a deck or whatever, because there's a lot to choose from. But I always thought that was the beauty of like putting together a really beautiful deck or a press release, because I was always like, it's like getting a resume. You look through it, you look at the whole thing, you skim through it, and you get the bullet points that like, oh, let me ask about this, or oh, okay, we'll be interested in this because of that. But you're saying no, you got to just give all the meat and the potatoes right at the beginning. What is wrong with people?
Why do I? And honestly, I found myself, I'm the same. Like, God, I love my mother, but she will take an hour to tell a 30-second story, and I'm like, get to the point. Like,
I'm the same.
What are we talking about here? I don't need all that other stuff.
Yes, you do, Kellie.
I don't need it. What are you telling me?
You don't think so?
No, sometimes I'm like that because I'm a Sagittarius through and through. And sometimes I can just be a bitch, or I'm busy, or like whatever. But I find myself doing that. And it's such a horrible trait. I will be the first to admit it. It's a horrible thing. And I am trying my hardest I have zero patience with anything. And I'm trying, as I'm getting into this old decrepit stage of life, like to be better about it. But oh my gosh, because it's rude and it's not okay. And I fully take responsibility for that horrible part of my personality. But I'm just like, what are you saying to me?
Yeah, but more people are probably like you though.
Which is not okay.
I like it the other way. So I'm just thinking of an example recently. So somebody said, oh, Rihanna performing at Super Bowl. Who else would be good to perform? If not Rihanna, who? Not saying Rihanna was bad. And so I could have just said, I think blank. And I did not do that. I said, well, she probably wouldn't do it, but I would think it would be a fitting time because it's been a long enough duration since the fiasco. Now, they should ask her, and she definitely earns the title. And I think she would do a great show. And then I finally said Janet Jackson.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, who?
Yeah, no. And I can't stand it. I can't stand it the other way. I cannot stand it the other way. You just like it feels like you're not even talking as a human. What's the answer? Janet Jackson. It's like, but what? Oh, here we go. Let me figure out my point. It's because I want to know what made you derive that as your answer. You just giving me a flat answer is like I should have just texted this to you. I think Janet performed. It's like lame. I want to hear what made you think that, why you didn't pick Britney Spears, why you didn't pick such and such, I want to know it all. But I do that a lot. And people are always, you probably too, always like, Ronnie, just say the answer. And I'm like, I'm getting to it. I am telling a story. And I really love that about myself, you guys. I do.
You are a great storyteller, which makes you so much better, in my opinion, at what you do and how you move things along than I am. Because I can kind of, but I feel like you are so much stronger in it because you flow, you do tell a story and you lap it into the next thing, and you're not trying to cut it off and hurry up, and you're not worried about that sort of thing, where I've become so conditioned to be on a time limit to like, hurry up, let's get to the point, that I can chop stuff up. So I look to you a lot for that, to try to slow myself down and to kind of relax and not be so quick to automatically like chop stuff up. So I do appreciate that about you, but it does that's what makes you a great storyteller too.
Don't get me wrong. There's times where I'm like, we need to move along. It's just, I will tell you one thing that is interesting is when Amazon became the thing, or just, anything really, you could order your food online, didn't have to go to the bank. People were like, this is great. I hated it. I didn't like those conveniences, and I don't like sitting in traffic either, but I don't like the conveniences that make you not a human. And I will tell you, over the weekend, what did I do? I carved a jack-o'-lantern. Like, I am just obsessed with the fact of doing things. Like I always tell you, I'll never be a cook per se, but I would always make a great sous chef. I think we are so robotic. Like, oh, we never have to go to the grocery store because we could get it sent to the house. Oh, we never have to go to the bank because it's direct deposit. Like, we're not humans anymore. I love being a human. It's my favorite thing. So that's maybe where
my last probably 2 years in LA, I don't think I ever stepped foot in a grocery store.
Oh, and that's one of my favorite things to do, Kelly.
But now I live so far out of like the city that I have to go to the grocery store all the time, which is fine. So when I'm like on my way to our store or like whatever, then, we kind of like plan it out that way. But it's so funny because I got so used to having everything done. I mean, I never went shopping. I used to use all those like personal stylist things and have clothes sent to me. Like I didn't do anything but work.
I love that hustle too. I like that hustle. Yeah. I'm just giving you a little bit of where it maybe comes from.
I totally get it, because now I'm back in to where I like to do those things. I like to be out in the world and kind of seeing new things for myself, and being able to like touch things and pick things and all of that. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, I carved a jack-o'-lantern. I didn't have no reason to. I don't have like nieces and nephews. But I carved a jack-o'-lantern. It didn't come out that good, and I had
some pictures now.
I will. I had some red wine, and I was the Snoop red wine, which I wasn't really like. I'm not a Snoop fan. That's not why I got it, but I heard it was really good, and it is very tasty. And like, nice. I had a beautiful Saturday night drinking red wine in my robe and cutting pumpkin turned jack-o'-lantern. I thought it was so great. Yeah. We'll do one more social media thing, but I know we have to move along. We got some great stories we're going to talk about, including Taylor Swift and Olivia Wilde, and some differences of opinions and judgments. But I want to do one last thing with you, because we're in the vein of, like we said, what does the thumbs up really mean? Does it mean the good old fuck you? Is it a middle finger? Really? We're trying to figure these things out because everyone has different correspondence with their social media or their texting. Okay. Do you think I'm right, or do you think you're right? So while we were preparing for the show, Kelly had to send me some some clips, not clips, but links to interviews. Now, I was always an Android person, so judge me all you want, but a lot of people have really been saying Android's really the way to go. Like lately, like nobody is loving. You're still on the iPhone. Oh wow. Do you feel okay? And I got my first ever iPhone this go around, and it's fine, but there's a lot of things that I miss with the Android. But with that being said, with the Android, I just got so used to, if I was sending Kelly something, like let's say, pick a topic, pick a celebrity. Who do you love?
Neil Patrick Harris.
Neil Patrick Harris. And I have to send Kelly 4 articles that I found, online. I'm going to compose an email, and I'm going to send them all to her. Because I was an Android user, I didn't get to use the AirDrop or whatever, and it never bothered me. And I also thought about it like this. It's so much easier for when she wants to go look at it, it's all curated neatly. Now, Kelly the other day was iPhoning me to the end of the earth with like, oh, we could talk about this, and we could use this, and we could talk about this, we could use this. And I was trying to like word it, so I did a voice message. Kelly, my dear, you don't have to do this, but at the same time, would you mind putting them all in one?
You have to do this.
No, but I had asked her, I said, could you put them all together? And she was like shocked. I'll let you take it away. She was like,
well, no, I was like,
she's like, what? Air check it, dummy. Or air, what's it called? Airdrop it. So am I right, or are you right?
Well, I think professionally, I can admit you are right, because it is better to put everything together. And as a professional publicist, I do that all the time. And that is the better way to go. Everything's in one place. You can go and find it as we're discussing stuff. Now, the greatest thing about Ronnie and I is that we will put something together like within hours of we're going to sit here and do this. So I'm on my phone, we're talking about it, and I'm sending him as we're discussing, because it's like top of mind for me. So I don't want to forget, and with the million things going on, because that sometimes I'll just get sidetracked. So I was just kind of doing it as we were talking. More so for him to kind of look to get an idea of what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even think about it in the sense that it's going to, it's a pain in the ass to go back and forward it and do all of that stuff, because I just didn't think about it. But I absolutely see your point. But at the same time, you can open it, airdrop it to your laptop, because that's where you're going to put it anyway.
And you might be doing it so naturally. People are probably doing that with you, where they're sending you stuff and they're in the text correspondence. So you just, when you go, when you need it, the next time you need it, you, Kelly, you probably just go get it, airdrop it, don't think nothing. But
well, because when you go to the contact of the person, like anything that you've ever sent me on links or like whatever, all I have to do is click your name and it shows me every photo you've sent me, every link that you sent me, and every screenshot. And I just have to open that. I don't have to scroll back through your texts.
See, so I think you do, or I thought you did. Because I'm a droid user before. And shut up with the droid.
No, I've had a droid too. I've gone back
like it's a crackerjack economic, like cheap phone. Like, are you like a droid? Still costs money, and it takes a great picture. Anyway, I just think my mind doesn't like to cross things over very much. It likes to be like, close it off here and then open it up here. And sometimes all of these conveniences for me is just like, wow, everything's just jumping at me, and it's doing it automatic, and my direct deposit's coming at me, and like I got groceries coming to me.
That's just like my laziness of skipping that step, because if I'm doing it on my phone and not on my laptop, then I have to like go to the message, I have to copy it, I have to open a note, I have to paste it, I have to like I have to do 3 or 4 steps in order to be able to compile it for you, to share it for you. It's because I can't just flip screens the way you can on your laptop. I mean, you can, but it's not as easy.
You copy it and you said it, which was something I got used to.
Probably easier ways to do it, and I just don't know yet. But it's the way that the long way about it. So I do apologize for throwing all that stuff at you. But like professionally, you're right. It should kind of like be concise and presented, and it's just I was just being lazy.
Like I'll say this, if like I don't mind it in a text if it's like we're just talking, but when it's like pertinent to I have to go back and find it. Like one time I asked a friend to help me with something, and he didn't email it to me, and it was like in the text message. One day, because he's kind of like a good friend but also really grumpy, and I was like, oh, I can't ask him again, but I really wish I could, because I don't know where in the text it was. But see, now I didn't know what you said, that if you press the person's name, you could just see all of the links that were sent, because I needed to refine that link. I was like, what did he say? That was very valuable.
Also search it through your messages, and it'll bring that up. But yeah, it's if you just open the contact, let's see if I can show you real fast.
A live demonstration. Come on.
Maybe we can do it on TikTok, and I can like do the record screen and then show you.
Come on, difficult podcasters, stepping it up with the technology.
Hold on, okay, so you know how you have hold on. Now it's not taking me to the screen because
no, don't accidentally send me your nudes.
Here's our text, right? Like all the stuff.
Cover the screen. About. How dare you? How dare you? How can she do this? This woman.
But it's like, so I'm showing him different stuff, but it's like if I click your name, then it goes here, and then I can see everything you sent me, or everything we sent each other.
You could see how obnoxious I've been. It's all about me. I don't ask Kelly a single question.
I know.
This episode has worn me out.
That's what it is. So you could see all that. And wait, now I'm showing. So it didn't show your phone number anywhere. So we don't have to worry about that.
You might get a full edit out of this whole segment. Look, from this point on, there's the one shot. It's just me. No, we do have to move along, though. This is great. But social media, text correspondence, it's just such an interesting thing. And there's so many ways to do it. So we wanted to have a little fun with that again. Whether you say thumbs up, F you, or you have an Android and you rock it out, or you have an iPhone and you airdrop everything. It is all good.
Or if you get a green message back, is that a deal breaker for you when you're dating someone? If their texts aren't blue, are you gonna break up?
We'll save that. We'll save that, because there's other things that are deal breakers, and I've heard
Mhm.
that for years as a Droid
Which
user.
is hilarious.
Oh, you're a Droid user. I'm like, do you know how much this costs? This phone is still expensive, you dummy. See, I'd be fighting with people. That's how I do with the online dating. Once you come at me with the phone, I'm like, shut up. But I have an iPhone now, so it's fine. Okay, Kellie, do you want to switch gears? We have a little bit of time here. Well, we have more than a little.